Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today I'm bringing you, and it's been a little bit of a while since I've done one of these, a winning deck list, or I suppose to be more pedantic, a second place deck list. I was at the Danish National Championships this past weekend, and we saw in the final Peter Hansen, a lovely chap, got second place with his Vesperquen Raichu list. And I asked him if I could take a picture of his list and use it, and he said yes because, as I previously mentioned, lovely chap. So let's take a look. We have two main attackers in this deck, but really, it's Vesperquen. Vesperquen is the main attacker in this deck. For a double colorless energy, you have the attack Be Revenge. 10 damage plus 20 damage, plus 10 more for each Pokemon in your discard pile. And the aim here is to just throw Pokemon in your discard pile, as many as you can, and then hit for great damage using just a double colorless energy. And we need to play 4 Combee to evolve into 4 Vesperquen. Now we have a backup attacker here, who's also a stage 1, we have Raichu. And we're looking at the attack Circle Circuit. We don't play the energy to use Thunderbolt. Circle Circuit does 20 damage times the number of your benched Pokemon. Now there is a Stadium Sky Field that can allow you to have up to 8 benched Pokemon, but we are not playing that in this particular build. So you're maxing out at 100 damage, but you can hit on weakness for things like Evil Tally X, for instance. So it can't all something like a Mega Rayquaza that could otherwise be difficult to get a one-hit KO. So it's not terrible, shall we say. It's a nice little backup attacker. We play 2 Pikachu as well to evolve into Raichu, but there's a 2-2 line here, and Nuzzle is quite a nice little attack which can allow you to paralyze your opponent's Pokemon just to buy you a turn. It's not your main attacker, Raichu, but he's a good little attacker. He attacks for 2 energy, like Vesperquen does, but he allows you to hit for lighting weakness, and it just gives you another attacker. So you're not just reliant on the 4-4 Vesperquen. Now, there are some other Pokemon in the deck. We are playing a baby Evil Tal. Hey, Nick. And we're playing for the attack Oblivion Wing. Technically, we do play the energy to do Darkness Blade, and there may be some situations in which you would use Darkness Blade, but generally Oblivion Wing. 30 damage is good for 2 reasons. Number 1, we can KO both the main attackers in that Night March deck. Either Joltik, who has 30 HP, or Pumpkaboo, who has 6 deeper to Dark weakness. But when you use Oblivion Wing, it allows you to attach a Dark energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. And of course, both Vesperquen and Raichu attack for a double colorless energy. You can only play 4 double colorless energy in your deck. That means you are overly reliant on double colorless energy. If you can attack with Oblivion Wing, you can put a dark energy onto a Raichu or onto a Vesperquen, or I suppose a Pikachu or a Combee. And by doing so, that means that they only need a basic energy further to attack. It just makes your deck a little bit more consistent. It stops that over-reliance on double colorless, but like I've said, it's pretty good for taking down those Night March Pokemon. Now, in terms of attackers, we also have Zebstrika. Now, he's got the attack Crashing Bolt, 50 damage, again, double colorless energy, seeing a bit of a pattern here. Again, we play the 4 double colorless energy, but we also play those dark energy and Baby Evil Tal to help us. 50 damage. If they've got fighting resistance, it does 60 more damage. It's fine, I suppose. It's, it's fine. However, it's this ability Zap Zone that we like. Damage from the attacks of your lightning Pokemon aren't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. This is another reason to play Raichu, because Raichu takes advantage of Zebstrika, but Vesperquen does not. Now, there's a few reasons to play this, but I'll give you one prominent example, Glaceon EX. Now, Glaceon EX has a lovely attack that does 70 damage, and basically says that during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from evolved Pokemon. Now here's the problem. We've got 2 main attackers here. We've got Vesperquen, and we have got Raichu. Not ideal. Now, I suppose we've got the basic Evil Towel, but he does 30 damage and will be 6-hit KOing Glaceon, or 4-hit KOing with a Muscle Band, and you can 2-hit KO with Darkness Blade if you can get free energy on. It is, shall we say, not ideal. Glaceon EX has 170 HP. So what you do is you get your Zeb Striker out, Zap Zone kicks in, and then Raichu, if you've got a full bench, can 2-hit KO with Circle Circuit. That's what we're talking about. Now, that's not the only use for Zeb Striker. It is one use. Essentially, you can take down Pokemon that would block all of your Pokemon, like, I'm looking at you, Glaceon EX and your Crystal Ray. Other than that, we don't have too many. We've got 4 Shaman because they help us to draw cards. They help us to set up. We want to play as many Pokemon as we can to get them in the discard pile for Be Revenge, which is our main attack. We're also playing 4 Unknown here because of the ability Farewell Letter. You get to, as long as it's on your bench, discard it and draw a card. Helps you draw cards, helps you be more consistent, and of course, it puts a Pokemon in the discard pile to fuel Be Revenge. Now, we have a couple of niche little Pokemon here to round us out. We have got a Bunnelby. Burrow allows you to discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Rototiller allows you to grab a card from your discard pile and put it into your deck. And that Omega Barrage ability means you can use either of these twice, or I suppose each of them once, during your turn. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. First of all, we can use Rototiller to reuse double colorless energy. We've got Evil Towel, but still it's nice to be able to use 6 double colorless in a game. And secondly, we've got Burrow. And Peter did actually win game 1 of the final when his Night March opponent went down to 2 cards in deck, and Peter just pulled out Bunnelby and burrowed twice for the victory. It's not the best plan ever, but it can win. Finally, Jirachi, and I'm sorry I don't own a Jirachi on PTCGO. What they do with the promos is you can buy them using your tokens when they're current promos, but as soon as they're not current promos, they get taken out of the shop and they're not tradable and there's no way to get them. Boo, etc. Now, we use Jirachi for Stardust. We don't play the energy for Dream Dance. Stardust does 10 damage, that's rubbish. But you get to discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, and then prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn, i.e. Jirachi becomes immune the following turn. So any deck that relies on special energy, let's go back to Night March with their double colorless reliance, you can discard a double colorless and then Jirachi is sitting in the active and is immune. And sure, your opponent can use something like a Lysander to KO a different Pokemon on your bench, but unless they do that, you get rid of a double colorless energy and you buy yourself a turn to set up. And they are the Pokemon in the deck. We play 27 Pokemon because of that Be Revenge attack. We want as many as possible. So in terms of supporters, we play free Professor Sycamore. It's an aggressive supporter. It allows us to draw many cards. But if we've got Pokemon in our hand and we play Professor Sycamore, those Pokemon get discarded, i.e. more Pokemon get put in your discard pile. This is undoubtedly a good thing. Why not 4? I'm assuming it's space. We also play a single copy of N. This has been reprinted in the recent expansion Fates Collide, and let me make it very easy for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me be nice and clear. N is amazing. Both players shuffle their hand into their deck, draw a number of cards equal to the prizes remaining. But here's the thing. Early game, it refreshes your hand, allows you to draw more cards. But late game, you can end your opponent, and if they've taken more prizes than you, they have fewer cards in their hand than you, and it allows you to effect a comeback. You play one of those because you can reuse it with VS Seeker. While we're here, quick note on VS Seeker, you play 4 of. Unless you're playing a Vileplume deck and you can't play trainers as well, you're playing 4 VS Seeker. It is as simple as that. It's too good. It's seriously amazing. You need 4 VS Seeker. You can reuse any supporter from your discard pile. It's awesome. You play 4. Now we play a few other supporters as a one-off. AZ allows you to pick up one of your Pokemon, discard all cards attached to it. And this can be used for a number of reasons. You can pick up a Shaman and place it back down to reuse his ability. Or you can just pick up a Shaman so he's not on your bench. He's the only EX you play, so if you can get the Shaman off your bench, your opponent has no way of knocking something out to take 2 prizes. Is it amazing? Yes, actually. It's not every single turn, but there are times in the game when you just darned well need it. We play 1 Xerosic to discard tools or special energy cards. If your opponent is overly reliant on double colorless energy, you can use this to get rid of it. But also things like Fighting Fury Belt is very popular nowadays. It's played in a lot of decks. It can allow your opponent to put themselves out of range of your Be Revenge or other attacks. So what you can do here is go along and use the Xerosic to get rid of that Fighting Fury Bout and then get the KO that your opponent was trying to deny you. Few cards to finish off. 4 Battle Compressor. It allows you to discard 3 cards from your deck. Given that you want to discard Pokemon to fuel this Be Revenge attack, given that you've got VS Seeker, this is a huge card. You can get rid of your one-off supporters like Lysander, AZ, Xerosic early game, and you're more likely to draw into one of your 4 VS Seeker than you are to draw into your 1 Lysander. 1 Lysander is quite low, by the way, but when you need to play 27 Pokemon, space is at a premium, so whereas most people play 2, you kind of have to go down to 1. The other thing, of course, is that you can go ahead, hey Torsten, is that you can go ahead and make sure that you can put Pokemon in a discard pile to fuel that Be Revenge attack. Couple other little cards to finish off. We play a Revitalizer, which combos very, 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 very nicely with Battle Compressor. What you do is you discard 2 grass Pokemon like, I don't know, a Combee and a Vespiquen. Then you play Revitalizer to put them back into your hand. But it can also be used in the late game. All your Vespiquen have been KO'd. Use Revitalizer to pick up a Combee and a Vespiquen. And you have a 5th Vespiquen ready to go. Also super odd here. Free energy that are basic or Pokemon into your deck, or any combination thereof. Good for reusing Pokemon, good for if you are running out of dark energy. I don't have much else to say about that. 4 Ultra Ball because, first of all, it allows you to search for any Pokemon in your deck. Now, Level Ball could be a nice play here, because it allows you to search for any Pokemon of 90 HP or less. But let's face it, even though most of them have 90 HP, you might need your Zeb Striker. You might need your Yveltal, and the one thing you will be needing is Shaman EX. Level Ball is fun, but Ultra Ball gets you your Shaman early game. And let's not forget that Ultra Ball forces you to discard 2 cards from your hand, and as I keep saying, you kind of want Pokemon in the discard pile to use that Be Revenge attack. Last couple of cards, 2 Muscle Band, because we don't have room for more. It allows your attacks to do 20 more damage. It's awesome, but we just don't have room to play more. A lot of the time, it would be better, for instance, to play 2 Unknown, draw 2 extra cards and do 20 more damage than play the Muscle Band. But we still play 2 so you can use it throughout the game. And we play a single Forest of Giant Plant. It allows you to evolve whenever you feel like it, as long as the Pokemon who is evolving is a grass Pokemon. And it allows you to get your Vespiquen going. Now, it is interesting. This is one of the more interesting things I find about the list. The fact that you're playing 1 Forest of Giant Plants. Now, there are reasons for this. Number 1 is just room. You don't have room to play every single card you might like. But also, you don't really need Forest of Giant Plants. First of all, you've got Raichu, who can work as an attacker. He's a stage 1 that can't use Forest of Giant Plants. We've also got Jirachi, who is a basic who can do a little bit of work if your opponent's putting down special energy. We've got Bunnelby, who's a basic who can do a little bit of work. And we've got Yveltal, who's a basic who can do a little bit of work. More Forest of Giant Plants would be nice, but room is an issue here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be clear about that. And finally, I think the only cards left are Energy. Let's be clear, we play 4 double colourless because in this deck, it's what we want every turn. If we could play 6, we'd probably play 6, but we can't, so we don't. We play 5 Dark Energy. I am going to defer to Peter on this one. Peter is better with this deck than I am, and at least when it comes to this, he is a cleverer man than I. He got second at Danish Nationals with this deck. For what it's worth, I found in decks like this 5 Energy to be about right. I played Raichu Evil Tau Bat, so a similar kind of deck at the ECC, and I believe I played 5 Dark 4 double colourless. It just feels right in a deck like this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Peter's second place deck from Danish Nationals. I'm not going to put a game at the end of this video, partly because I don't have a Jirachi, so I can't play the deck properly, partly because we recorded a game at Danish Nationals, so assuming I can find the link and it's not been taken down, I shall put a link to Peter's finals game from Danish Nationals in the description of this video, featuring commentary from myself and the lovely David Hockman. So if you want to see a game with this deck, you can, hopefully. I really hope it works. And if you want to hear me commentate a game with this deck, you can. The difference is, it's a game in the finals of Nationals, which, shall we say, he's going to be trying a little bit harder than he would be, than I might be in a little game on PTCGO. And of course, he knows the deck better. A word of warning, though, if I remember correctly, David does use a naughty word during that video. So if there are children watching that video, there is something to be aware of. I believe there was a naughty word that snuck into that video. Not from me. It was a more relaxed stream in Denmark, but if I remember correctly, there was a naughty word. So if you're going to watch with children, I know there are a bunch of children who do watch this channel, please be aware of that. You have been warned. As always, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and comment down below if you've got anything you'd like to say. The most important thing is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.